So hi everybody and a happy Erev Purim. And today, instead of Tanya in real life, we'll be talking about Purim. Every Yom Tov is called for the miracle that happened on that Yom Tov. And like if we think about Pesach, Sukkot, Hanukkah, the name Pesach comes from the miracle of Hashem jumping over the houses and performing a miracle for the Jewish people. Hanukkah, we call that, it means renewal, rededication. We call that, the whole Yom Tov is called Hanukkah because of that miracle that we were able to attain on that special time. And Sukkot is named for Hashem's protection, Hashem's loving protection of us. And the one exception in all the Yom Tovim is Purim. Purim, where does the word Purim come from? In the Megillah, we see that the name Purim, the word Purim is associated with Haman and his plot to kill and destroy, annihilate completely every Jewish man, woman, and child. Old, young, it didn't matter where you lived. He just wanted to kill us all. And to establish the date and the time for that terrible plan, he threw a gyro, he pilpor. He threw a lot, a gyro. And so it's strange and it's curious why the whole Yom Tov is called after this name. Another interesting thing about this is that, which is going to be related, which we'll also understand what, have deeper insight to as we explore this. By the way, all that I'm saying here, I'm not making it up. I'm basing it on the teachings of the Baal Tanya, specifically in the mimer called Enrich, and a mimer from the Lubavitcher Rebbe called, I think it's called Hipil Por. Yeah. So another interesting thing about this Yom Tov is this is the one Yom Tov out of all the times of joy, and there are many times of joy throughout the year, but this is the one Yom Tov where we have the mitzvah or the custom, the instruction to get to a place of joy ad layada, right? Chayav enesh, where people should drink ad layada until we don't know the difference between Haman and Baruch Mordechai. And the question is why ad layada? What's the significance of ad layada? If we don't know the difference between Haman and Mordechai, what are we celebrating? What are we happy about? What is a Yom Tov if not the awareness that Hashem loves us? And that, and that Baruch Mordechai, that blessed is Mordechai. Another part of the Megillah that this is going to relate to, that our discovery is going to relate to, is when Mordechai is talking to Esther, he tells her and he's instructing her to go to the king, which was a real sacrifice on her part. She was risking her life by going to the king, her spiritual life and her physical life. And he tells her, mi idea, who knows, if not for this time, maybe you came to the palace, maybe it is all orchestrated just so that you should be here in this moment, in this very time, so that you're in the position to save all of the Jewish people. And the expression that he uses, mi idea, who knows, is also curious. What do we mean, who knows? Imagine I tell you, do something important because who knows, maybe you're going to be successful. What do you mean, who knows? What does that mean? Who knows? Mi idea. We want, when we're being instructed to do something that's so important and so risky, and we're sacrificing so much, what does it mean, mi idea, who knows? I want to know that this is meaningful. I want to know that this is important. I want to know with certainty, not in a way of who knows, but yes, I do know with clarity that this is what Hashem wants me to do. So what is that significance of that expression, mi idea, who knows? Okay, and there's a lot of other things that as we explore this specific idea, you'll probably have clarity on, but we'll open that to discussion afterwards. One other thing that I want to mention is that when we talk about Yom HaKippurim, we say that the holiest day of the Jewish calendar is, everybody will say, hands down, it's Yom HaKippurim, right? The day of Yom Kippur. And yet Yom HaKippurim is considered, it's called Yom HaKippurim. It's like Purim. When you compare something to something else, what you're saying is that that other thing has much more value. In other words, if I want to say something is as bright as the sun, right? Her face shone as brightly as the sun itself. Which one shines more brightly? Obviously the sun. And to compare it to the sun is to show that that is such beautiful brightness. So if we're saying that Yom HaKippurim, Yom Kippur, is like Purim, what we're really saying is that Yom Kippur is so holy, it's almost as holy, or it comes in the category of Purim. So what is that holiness? What is the awesomeness of this day, Purim, that makes it the thing, the specialness that Yom Kippur is comparable to as well? Okay, so one question I feel like I would love for you to think about now, and I hope that when we're done having this discussion about Purim, you might think about it a little bit differently. If you think about all your relationships, all the people in your life, your family members, your friends, your people of your past, people of your present, if you ask yourself, is there any relationship that you're in where there's really absolutely nothing in it for you? Is there a relationship in your life where there's nothing in it for you? And on a deeper level, the question is, are you able to give love from that deep place inside of you that's truly unconditional? Are you able to love without getting anything in return? Because I think that in most of our relationships, there's always something about the relationship that keeps us there. There's something that the other person is doing right. There's something that's going well for us. There's some reason. It might not even be a reason that we are willing to say, oh, that's a reason, but there's always a reason. We're always in the relationship for a reason, because as humans, when people disappoint us time after time, again and again, we don't stay in relationships, or rather we don't give to people who we're not absolutely getting, the human part of us, the Nefesh HaBahamis, the animal dimension inside of us, right? We are here. That mindset is, I'm here in this world by myself, with myself, for myself. I'm not going to give to someone unless there's something in it for me. That's the Nefesh HaBahamis way of thinking. And it's only our neshama, our godliness, that could transcend our self-centeredness and give to others from the place of that real unconditional love and desire to just shine because we can, because we're in the position to. And I think this is even true with our children. Of course, we love our children, but if you think about a son spitting in the face of his father, a son spits in the face of his father and says, I don't care one thing about you. I couldn't care less about you. The father and son are still connected. They're still father and son. There's not 1 inch of a difference in the biological, inherent, profound bond that ties a father to his son. But when a kid spits in your face, there is some loss of energy. There's some loss of interest. And it does take work. And we need to work to engage with our children, with all the people in our life, from the place of that unconditional love. And what we're going to learn from in the story of Purim, and what we're talking about in relation to Purim, is that Hashem loves each and every one of us in a way that's bigger than any conditions, any values, and it even transcends the definition of father and son or father and daughter. So, and by taking this in and by experiencing it and really absorbing the magnitude of what this precious gift is for us, we have the strength. First of all, it gives us so much strength and courage and joy. And that's really the joy of Purim. That is the joy. That's the reason we can be happy, even when we're in pain, is because Hashem is with us and Hashem chooses us and Hashem loves us. And we trust that and we embrace it and feel secure in his embrace. And another extension, by extension, we're able to live from that place and bring the joy, not just keep it in our hearts, but really bring it to other parts of our lives, to other relationships, to our challenges, to our, to our struggles, to our day-to-day living. And that is what we're going to tap into today as we talk about more of what happened on Purim and why the name is called Purim. Okay, because Hashem's relationship with us is different from every other relationship. It transcends all human limitations. It transcends all definitions, all descriptions. There's nothing that could get in its way. It's an unbreakable bond, and that's the energy of that unbreakableness, the energy of that union, the energy of that love is what we celebrate and what we tap into on Purim. And that's the joy that we're going to say is beyond knowing, beyond definition, beyond anything that words could describe. So let's start by talking about what a goyrel is. Okay, we said Purim means goyrel. Goyrel means a lottery. Okay, when do you make a lottery? If you tell me, what do you prefer? Would you like $500 or would you like $5 million? Okay, now my intellect is going to dictate my answer. My understanding of the value, the difference in value between 500 and 5 million is going to give me my answer. So my answer is not coming from a very deep place in me. It's coming from my intellect. Let's look at ourselves this way. We talked about a person having the inside of a person and the outside of a person. We have our mind and our heart, our intellect and our emotions, and then we have our external behaviors, our conscious thoughts, the things we say and the things that we do, right? If I want to know your essence, if I want to touch your essence, if I see a picture that you made, it's something that you did. It's a picture that you made, or it's something that, you poured a cup of water. Okay. I look at the cup of water that you poured and I know not a thing about you. I know you on a very external level. I just know that you're the person who brought the cup of water, or you're the one who put the cup of water there. It doesn't tell me your personality. It doesn't tell me your fears, your love, your desires, your passion, it doesn't tell me anything about you. It's just a very external layer of you. It's an action. Speech is a deeper level of awareness of who you are. When you say something, it's more expressive of a deeper part inside of yourself, right? If you said this and I'm hearing you, I'm hearing a little bit more of the depth of your personality. I'm hearing more about what you like, what you don't like, what you think, but still my experience of you is still going to be limited to whatever you're willing to say. If you didn't say it, I don't know it. If you didn't say it, I don't hear it. I don't see it. I certainly can't connect with it. So speech is a deeper level of connection than action, but it's still not the essence of the person, right? Thought is a much, much deeper place. Your thought, your intellect is your reasoning. If I know your thoughts, then I could say, I really know you on a very deep level. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're feeling. That's a very deep level of connection. But there's something even deeper than that. And that is your desires. Your desires sometimes, remember we talked about values, and value is in a certain sense even deeper than emotion and deeper than thoughts, because it's like coming from a deeper place inside of us. We value something that when I value something, then I think it's good. It's deeper than my thoughts. When I value something, then I feel happy when I have it. So it's deeper than my emotions. So Ratzon is even deeper than intellect. And then there's something even higher than Ratzon. And that is choice. Choice is free choice, completely free choice. Free choice means that my choice is not compelled by any logic or reason or circumstances or conditions. It's compelled by nothing but pure, absolute choice. And when you make a choice from that deep place inside of you, that is your essence. That is the core of who you are. It's undiluted, it's unevolved. That's not a word, but you know what I mean? It's the essence. It's the essence of who you really are. Now, all of these things that we're talking about in terms of me and you, a human relationship, all of these are a mushal. They're really an analogy for Hashem's relationship with the world. We say in chapter 2 of Tanya, in Perek Beis of Tanya, the Baal Tanya teaches us that each of us is Hashem's precious child, right? We evolve from, we come from Mimayach Ha'av. We, just like a child comes from the brain of the father, so too we come from Hashem himself. And that bond is so deep that nothing can break it. And yet here, there is something even deeper than that bond between a father and a child. Now, Haman had an agenda. Haman, in the story of Purim, Haman was a very, very spiritual person. We also learned this in Tanya. We talked about it in Tanya, that Zeh u'mazeh asa elokim. Hashem created the world in parallel form. Whatever strength exists in spiritually, in Kedusha, in holiness, in areas of life that are transparent to Hashem, also exists in concealment of Hashem. Haman had tremendous spiritual awareness and consciousness, and he knew the profound connection, the profound bond and love between Hashem and the Jewish people, and he wanted to get in the way of that very bond. From the beginning of the story of Purim, the advice, Achashverosh made a party to celebrate the severance of Hashem's relationship with Bnei Yisrael, because the people knew that there was a certain amount of years, there were 70 years that Hashem said, Hashem told us through the Nevi'im that we are going to be exiled from Eretz Yisrael for 70 years. And different kings counted those years differently. And when that time passed, they decided, that's it. Hashem gave up on the Jewish people. You see, the 70 years passed and nothing happened. And Achashverosh too counted 70 years together with Haman. And he realized that, the 70 years passed. Hashem has forsaken his people. Chas v'shalom. It's over. We can do whatever we want. Let's celebrate that. And Haman said, let's just make sure to dig that in and to make, the Jewish people are connected to Hashem through the Torah and mitzvahs. So let's make a party where they will be invited to and they will sin, and then they will be totally under our control. When they leave their dependency on Hashem, when they stop doing what Hashem wants, they will be in our hands, and we will have full control to do whatever we want. So from the beginning of the story, Haman is trying to get in the way of our relationship with Hashem. We learn in the Megillah that Haman made a gallows to hang Mordechai that was 50 amos high, 50 cubits. It soared into the sky, way above all of the houses, any house, even Achashverosh's palace. It soared 50 cubits into the heavens. Why did he do specifically 50 amos? Because the Gemara tells us, Chamishim Shari Bina Nivra'u Ba'olam. There are 50 gates of wisdom, 50 gates of understanding in this world. V'kulam nitnu leMoshe chasar echad. All of them, all the gates of wisdom and understanding were handed to Moshe Rabbeinu with the Torah, except for one, except for the 50th. What Haman was trying to do is, Haman was trying to touch that 50th place. Okay, there's 49 levels of connection between Bnei Israel and Hashem, between the Jewish people and their creator and Hashem himself. 49 levels of connection. I want to creep into that place, into that 50th place. And over there, we are the same. Over there, we are equal. Over there, I'm going to get Hashem to say, you know what? On that deep place, I'm going to choose Haman over Mordechai. If you look at your body, Okay, my hands are different from my legs. My one hand is different from the other hand. A finger is different from a hand. There's differentiation in all the parts of our body. There's differentiation. But then there's a part of us, that seminal force of life, that is just the essence of it all, the quintessential core from which all of our life flows, from which all of our energy flows. Over there in that space, there's no difference between my hands and my feet. There's no difference between my brain and my toenails, because in that space, it's all one. You know, on a seminal level, Esav and Yaakov were exactly the same. There was no difference. They didn't do anything yet. They weren't evolved into even fetuses yet, right? They on a seminal level, Esav and Yaakov have no difference. There's no difference between them. And on that level, Haman was trying to touch that space and say to Hashem, let's get over there. And in that space, choose me. Let's get rid of the Jewish people. Let's choose someone else. You know, let's get rid of them. Enough with them. I will start a new world order. I will be the one. I will be in charge. I will be your special one. And the miracle of Purim, and that's really what a goyrel is. Why did he throw a goyrel? Because a goyrel, when we throw a goyrel, it's deeper than our intellect. If I make a choice, if you tell me $500 or $5 million, that's not truly me. That's a choice that's dependent on my intellect. Intellectually, I understand that 5 million is more than 500. So that's not free choice, right? If you tell me, I happen to like apples, okay? If you give me a choice between an apple and an orange, it's not really a choice. I like apples. You give a child a choice between a lollipop and a carrot stick. What's the child going to choose, right? A child is naturally going to choose a lollipop. It's not really a free choice. It's almost a compulsion based on their human tendencies, right? So a goyrel represents a choice that transcends logic, that transcends reason. When do we make a goyrel? When there's no difference between the two objects. On that seminal level, where there's no difference between the two things, we surrender our intellect and our reason and our choice to that goyrel. However it comes out, we are going to follow that. And that's a very deep level of connection. And over there, when Haman was trying to throw the goyrel, he was trying to reach that deep place inside of Hashem where there's no where mitzvahs don't really matter. You know, there's a pasuk that says, "Haloi gam bein va'ach ein li," right? There's a place where Hashem says, "I don't have a son and I don't have a brother. There's no parallel to me." There's a place where we are like Hashem's children. There's a place where we are like Hashem's children, but even that is limited to the tzir, to the idea of father and son. A father could only love his son to the extent that he is a father. It's limited to the relationship. A father could love his son as much as the son is lovable, or as much as the fatherhood as a fatherhood creates love. Hashem doesn't love us as much as we are lovable. Hashem loves us as much as Hashem knows how to love, as much as Hashem loves. And it's a huge, 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 huge difference. And on that level, the deep level of deep within Hashem, that's where Haman was trying to touch. That's where Haman was trying to advocate against the Jewish people and say, look, they're not good enough. Look at them. Yeshnei am echad. They're supposed to be one with you. And they're supposed to be one with each other, but they're mefuzar mefayred bein ha'amim. They're separate. They're separate from each other, and they're separate from you. Haman accessed that place, that deep place inside of Hashem, where it's possible, where it's beyond mitzvahs. And by the way, this is where the connection between Yom Kippur comes in. On Yom Kippur, we say, Lifnei Hashem titharu. And we talked about this. For those of you who were with us before Yom Kippur, we learned that the essence of Yom Kippur, the power of Yom Kippur, is that Hashem reveals an energy that's deeper and a connection with us that's deeper even than mitzvahs. deeper even than our connection that we achieve, that consciousness, that bond that we create, that we activate when we do a mitzvah. Because there's a place in Hashem's greatness, because really Hashem is awesome beyond description. And in Hashem's awesomeness, nothing takes up space. There's a pasuk that says, Im tzidakta ma titen lai. You did something right, good. What did you give Hashem, right? And if you did something wrong, what harm did you do to Hashem? Hashem chooses to value mitzvahs. But beyond that choice, there's a deeper place inside of Hashem where Hashem doesn't need anything. We can't give anything to him. We can't take anything from him. That so elevated, so great, that in that space, nothing takes up space. And that's where Haman was trying to touch. And that's why he built that high tree, Gavaya Chamishim Ama, so high that it went past the 49 levels of connection, past the 49 Shari Bina, and to the 50th one that was not given to Moshe Rabbeinu. And the miracle of Purim is that in that deep space, where Haman said, over there, you see there, they broke that level of connection with mitzvahs. All that depth, they depended on Achashverosh. They didn't depend on you. They depended on natural order, on the natural order of the world. They didn't depend on you, Hashem. Okay? They felt good about coming to the party. They feel good that Achashverosh likes them. They feel that they're getting everything they need from Achashverosh. They don't need you. They're not leaning on you. So forget about them. Hashem said, you know what? I still choose them. And Bnei Yisrael also, when the Gezerah was made, the Jewish people had a way out. They had an exit. They had that possibility to escape that disastrous decree. If they would convert, if they would renounce their Judaism, if they would say, fine, I am no longer associating myself with the Jewish people, I'm out. If they would do that, their lives would be spared. Throughout the entire year, from the date of that decree to the date when that decree was supposed to be carried out, that entire year, not one Jew converted, not one Jew disassociated himself or herself from the Jewish people. It's an unbelievable thing. The entire Jewish people, every single person, recognized our utter dependency on Hashem. And despite the times, we have to realize that when we say that, they counted 70 years and Hashem did not come through, according to their calculations, the 70 years that Hashem promised, I'm going to redeem you. I'm going to bring you back home. I'm going to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash. The time passed and they were still stuck in Gullus under the dictatorship of a disgusting king, of a king who hated them and despised them and was willing to pay money to get rid of them. How could they not feel lost? If we could put that story and superimpose it on our lives today, what would the news articles be like? What would we be doing? We'd be reading the news, what Haman said, what Achashverosh said. Today he said this, tomorrow he said this. Today he made this law, today he made that law, and our drama would be around them. The Jewish people at that time could have had that drama completely around Achashverosh and Haman and Esther and the natural order of the world. And in the beginning they did. And that's why they went to the party. They didn't just go to the party. They were delighted to go to the party. They felt that they had arrived finally. And that's why, by the way, the Gemara tells us in the story of the Megillah, how did Hashem allow that decree to happen that all men, women, and children should be killed? It's because they enjoyed the Se'ud of Achashverosh. So the question is obvious. What? The punishment doesn't fit the crime. What a big punishment for such a little thing. Okay, so they went to the Se'ud of Achashverosh. We could repair it. We could fix that. It's a little thing. It's not a huge thing that should cost the lives of men, women, and children, every single one of us. And it's explained that it wasn't the going to the Gezerah. It was the dependency, the transference of dependency from Hashem to Achashverosh. It was the nehenu misudas. It was the joy. It was the pleasure. Like finally we arrived. Finally, Achashverosh is considering us one of his people. We belong because Achashverosh makes us belong. We have certified right to exist because Achashverosh gave us that right and that privilege. And so what we did was transfer our dependency from Hashem to Achashverosh, and with that, it wasn't a punishment that we were going to be destroyed, but the Jewish people we are utterly dependent on Hashem, and when we know that and we're aware of that, we activate Hashem's protection of us, and when we don't, we leave. It's like the sheep moving away from the shepherd. Of course, a wolf is going to come because the wolf is there. As long as he's near the shepherd, he's protected. Walks 3 feet away, 3 inches away from the shepherd, the wolf is right there. And that's what happened in the story of Purim. So we as a people transferred our dependency from Hashem, our validation, our approval. Instead of feeling good because we're Hashem's people, we felt good because we're Achashverosh's people. Instead of feeling good on Shabbos that now we could celebrate with Hashem, we felt good, that same level of good, or maybe more good, that Achashverosh, now we're celebrating with him and his malucha, his kingship, and his celebration, and his food and beauty and all that. We transferred our dependency from Hashem to Achashverosh, and that's what triggered the decree. And Haman was out for that. That's exactly what he wanted to happen. But then when the Gezerah happened, Bnei Yisrael woke up, Mordechai woke us up, and Mordechai said, he triggered that place inside of us, like a Rebbe is supposed to do, like a Rebbe is supposed to nurture our faith, nurture our deep sense of belief, wake up our consciousness. And Mordechai woke us up to teshuva, to recognize that it's not Esther in the palace that's going to help us. It's not Haman in the palace who's going to destroy us. It's not Achashverosh who is pulling any of the strings. It is one and only, it's the one and only Hashem who is directing, supervising, and in charge of it all, powering every single detail. And with his inspiration and that message, Bnei Yisrael did completely turn their hearts back towards Hashem. They woke up that place in them that's called Mesiras Nefesh. That means, what's the definition of Mesiras Nefesh is, really, it's commonly translated as sacrificing our lives, but it's more than that. It's giving over our soul, recognizing, and the deeper level of Mesiras Nefesh and how it applies to today is recognizing that it's not, we are nothing. Our life is not anything other than Hashem's giving us that life. And we don't want a life that's outside of Hashem. So Bnei Yisrael said, we're not going to give up our connection with Hashem, because that connection is more precious than our physical lives. And we're never going to give it up. We were born as Jews. We will die as Jews. And with that, we will always be alive, because that is our true life. Mesiras Nefesh means that my true life comes only from Hashem. And I will not value anything in a way that's going to get in the way of that. So Bnei Yisrael's Mesiras Nefesh, their commitment to Hashem, despite the darkness, despite the hiddenness, despite the fact that it looked like they were stuck forever in this terrible place of loss. There was no Beis Hamikdash. There was no Nevuah. There were no miracles in the entire Megillah. It's the only sefer in Tanakh that Hashem's name is not mentioned even once. Not even once. To represent the extreme hiddenness that Bnei Yisrael experienced at that time. They saw nothing of Hashem, not one glimmer of, obviously Hashgacha Pratis means that Hashem is always running the world. But when we see Hashgacha Pratis, when we see his divine providence, when you just need something and Hashem puts that into your hand, when things work out just so, it opens up your heart to realize, wow, Hashem is experienced. Hashem is directing it all along. Bnei Israel at that time, the Jewish people saw none of that. No goodness, no glimmer of Hashem's presence. And yet, they made that commitment and they retained that commitment. They held on to that commitment for an entire year. You know, you could have a liter of water, a gallon of water. You could have a barrel full of water. You could have a garbage bag. But then there's a place where all amounts, there's no difference, right? There's a certain amount of a difference between a drop of water and a cup of water. You would say it's the difference of a cup. Between a cup and a gallon is a difference of a gallon minus a cup. Between a liter and a gallon, there's that difference. In an ocean, what difference is there between a cup and a gallon? Between a barrel and a bigger barrel, there's no difference. It's that deep. It's that big. It's that broad. It's that profound. So in that profound essence of Hashem, which is indescribable in words, if we would use the analogy of an ocean, Hashem is much bigger than the ocean. Hashem's profound magnitude and depth of his awesomeness, the broadness of his awesomeness is much more indescribable and much bigger than the difference of a cup of water and an ocean of water. In that profound essence of who Hashem is, in that space where there's really no difference between good and bad, because good and bad is all the same, just like there's no difference between a cup of water and a gallon of water. It's all external stuff. It's all atoms. It's all what's that? Molecules. Yeah. It's all just, you know, what's the difference between a chair and a table? There's a lot of differences, right? But on a molecular level, there's no difference. It's just there are different types of molecules, the way the molecules are arranged. In that essence, where Ar Haman and Baruch Mordechai are exactly in the same sentence, at that same place, even at that level of choice, even where they don't deserve, even where, you know, there's no mitzvahs, beyond any type of, beyond the fatherhood, at that place where Esav and Yaakov are exactly the same, still there, Hashem chooses us, even where it's possible for Hashem to say, well, in that place, yeah, maybe Hashem will choose Haman. Haman really thought, Chas v'shalom, over there, I'm going to be chosen. I'm going to manipulate. I'm going to pull the strings. I'm going to plead before Hashem, and I will be chosen over Mordechai. I will be chosen over the Jewish people. My hate will overcome their love. My plan will change Hashem's plan. And Hashem said, nothing doing. Even in that deep place, beyond Torah, beyond mitzvahs, beyond anything that even has words, Hashem says, I choose the Jewish people and I love the Jewish people and I will save them from all harm. Why? Because, for no other reason than because. And every year on Purim, that's the energy of Purim. That's the spiritual energy. When we talk about Hayamim ha'elu nizkarim v'nasim, it's a pasuk in the Megillah, these days are remembered and reenacted. The Arizal says that the difference between a holiday in the Jewish calendar and a holiday in the secular calendar, right, is that it's not just a commemoration of something that happened long ago on our calendar. It's not a commemoration of anything that happened. It's a reenaction. The energy that was exposed and revealed, the depth, that profound love for Hashem, that deep connection, that from that place inside of Hashem, that is so unbreakable. And from the place inside of us where we love Hashem and we're committed towards Hashem, that energy, that place inside of our hearts, that spiritual energy is revealed and exposed and flows into this world every year on Purim. And in that sense, Purim is even higher than Yom HaKippurim, Yom Kippur, because Yom Kippur, the energy is there, but all of the goodness depends on our tshuva. And that's why as a lead up to Yom Kippur, we have the whole month of Elul, and we have the whole Rosh Hashanah, and we have the 10 days of Teshuvah. And then we walk into Yom Kippur, and we're ready to go lifnei Hashem titaru, before the name of Hashem. In other words, a deeper level of Hashem, a level of Hashem that transcends time and space, which is represented in the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. A level of Hashem that transcends the whole Seder Hishtalshelus, all the orders, all the ways that Hashem's light is manifest in the world. On Yom Kippur, that tremendous light is revealed, and we activate that and we access that, and that's how we receive kapara. We receive forgiveness. We receive all the blessings that we want for a good, healthy, happy, sweet year. But on Yom Kippur, it depends on teshuvah. And on Purim, it's there for the taking. Kol ha'poshet yad. We only have to stretch out our hand, ask Hashem to reveal that to us. Ask Hashem for it, and we have it. We can turn to Hashem from that place in our hearts without any pre-preparation, without any month of teshuvah, that would no Chodesh Elul, no Rosh Hashanah, no Aseret Simei Tshuva. We have that direct door to be able to access that profound level of connection with Hashem, where at that place we are one, and Hashem wants to do whatever is good for us in a revealed way, with revealed love. So let's open for questions, and then I will. I know that this is a very deep concept, so feel free to jump in and ask questions. Okay, this is a great question. I want to repeat the question for the recording. When someone is in a state of anxiety and experiencing deep worry and fears, how do we access this place of security and peace that we get from Hashem's love of us? How do we access that? And the answer is that there's no magic. On a daily basis, I want to encourage you to learn to listen to the full series of Tanya in Real Life, also the series Upgrade to Awesome, because it's a process. But in a nutshell, every single day, when we think about Hashem, we are creating a system we are building a bridge between our mind and our heart. And on that bridge, we have the ability, what crosses on that bridge is the awareness of Hashem's love and his protection creates a parallel emotion. In other words, awareness of Hashem's protection gives us security. Awareness of Hashem's love makes us feel belonging. It gives us a deep sense of validation. Awareness of Hashem's being in charge gives us a sense of peace, right? But there's a huge distance. The longest distance in the universe is the distance between our mind and our heart. But every single time we think about Hashem, not just in a way of abstract terms, but in a personal way. In other words, not just that Hashem is a power in the world, but when we look at our lives, we say, oh, this paper that's on my desk is here because Hashem allows it to be here, because Hashem is at this very moment animating it. This blessing that I have in my life, oh, it's from Hashem. The fact that I didn't slip on the ice, it's only by God's kindness. It's only by his kindness to me. And when I do this, every single time I do this, what I'm doing is I'm taking an abstract idea of Hashem that exists, and emunah is a makiftika thing. I have emunah, but it's like an umbrella. It's not in my heart. I'm taking that thing that's encompassing, that surrounds me, and I'm bringing it into my heart. I'm making it part of how I'm building that bridge between my mind and my heart. I'm letting it cross into my heart and enter my heart. And then the next time, and then in a moment of anxiety, I could think about Hashem. And that is actually my button that I press to not instantly, but take a deep breath and think about Hashem's presence. And it does give us perspective. It gives us more calm. It gives us more peace. It gives us courage, gives us a sense of worthiness. It gives us all those things. The story that I've often shared about this, and I'm going to share it one more time, and I hope nobody is annoyed with me. Go take a cup of coffee if this is boring, or if you're listening to this, just fast forward. The story of the guy from Chelm who goes to the big city and sees how they put out a fire. And he sees that they ring a bell and suddenly buckets of water appear from nowhere and people are pouring and the fire is extinguished in no time at all. And he buys that same bell expecting to use it in his town of Chelm. And he tells everybody, the next time there's a fire, I'm just going to ring this bell. Don't worry, the fire will be extinguished momentarily. And he rings the bell, and when there's a fire, and nothing happens. There's no buckets, there's no water, there's no people, there's no running, there's no coming. Nothing happens. He's ringing and railings, and he goes back to the person who made the bell and sold it to him and says, you sold me a lemon. You didn't sell me the same bell that exists in the center of your town. And of course, he explained, the store owner laughed at him and said, it's not the bell that puts out the fire. The bell is only the trigger of the system that's set up to put out the fire. And so every single time we think about Hashem in a personal way, not just thinking about Hashem, high in the sky, but Hashem as active in our lives, in our day-to-day lives, in our relationships, in our challenges, in our struggles, really spending time thinking about it proactively every single day. When we're doing that, we're creating the system that when we ring the bell, which means when we think about Hashem in a moment of a burning fire, emotional emergency, we trigger that system. We trigger that whole system, all those thoughts, all that investment of time that we did for the 30 days before that time, or however many days we've been doing this work, it floods into our heart and it puts out the fire of our anxiety, at least for that moment. And that's the way. There's really no shortcuts to that process. I hope that answers your question. It was a very, very good one. I want to tell you something. I don't think it's at all hard to do that in a moment of panic. It's not hard. It's impossible. It's not hard. It's impossible. It is impossible to do this, to have, it's just like ringing a bell and expecting the fire to be put out. It's not going to work. It's the system that puts out the fire. The bell is only the trigger. So in a moment of anxiety, the way that we could achieve calm is by thinking about Hashem. But if we didn't invest time every single day, this is a process that you could start now. And Mishenichnas Adar Marbin Besimcha means that we need to increase in the work that triggers simcha in our hearts. It's not about making the music louder or faster. It's not, obviously, definitely, music brings us out of ourselves. It touches our core and it touches that deep place inside of ourselves that is happy, right? And it wakes that up. So yeah, put on the music and get into the spirit of Purim, and it does help. But in a moment of anxiety, the work that we need to do, the effort that we need to do, where the work is, it's thinking about Hashem in a personal way, in a way that actually makes a difference. We have to connect the dots. And every time we do that, it makes the process more meaningful, more profound. Then when we think about Hashem, there's more meaning, more joy, more security. And Hashem keeps challenging us, so we keep needing to do this work. It's deeper than all of that. It's the essence of our soul. When we learn Tanya, we talk about that our soul, right? The mahus, the nature of our soul, but we're not even in the Tanya. We don't describe that essence of the neshama, that essence of who we are, because it's indescribable. It's the essence of the neshama, because I think a person's body is a good example, and the way the energy flows into our body is a good example, is a good visual. The way our energy flows into our toenails is different than it flows into our mouths. There's a lot of energy in our mouths. There's very little energy, life force. So our mouths, from in that space, there's a difference between our mouths and between our mouth and our toenails. But in the essence of our brain, from which our brain gives, the channel of our life force, our aliveness comes from our brain, right? In that space, there's a space in our brain even in Kabbalistic language, it's the difference between Mamali Kol Almam and Seviv Kol Almam, but I'm not gonna. There's a space in our brain that controls and directs how much energy and what form of energy to give to every limb of our body. But then there's a part of our brain that is just where our whole life is. The person is alive or the person's not alive. That's a deeper place inside of us. So similarly, there's a place of our neshama that we activate by doing a mitzvah. And with that place, and then we engage in a relationship with Hashem. And then there's a deeper place in our neshama. And there's another place in our neshama where we love Hashem. That's separate. That sometimes coincides with how we do a mitzvah, and sometimes we're just doing a mitzvah without that love and awe of Hashem generated. But then there's a deep place inside of our neshama that is indescribable. It's indescribable, and it makes no sense. It's beyond logic and reason. It's that place inside of us, and I believe that each and every one of us lives from that place every single day. We access that every single day. You know how I know? Because there's no way in the world we would be showing up to keeping Shabbos, to saying a bracha without that. Because today we don't see Hashem. We look at Hashgacha Pratis and we say that is a miracle. And when we do that, we are the miracle. Because Hashem is so hidden, and yet here we are. We are a miracle. We're committed to Hashem in such a deep way, and we need to access that commitment. And the Lubavitch Rebbe actually spoke about this at length in celebrating our society. You know, there is this concept of like we are, in a certain sense, less spiritually sensitive than the times of the Beis Hamikdash, where people saw Hashem's miracles revealed before their eyes every single day in, day out, right? So in a certain sense, we don't have that. We're in the dark. We're less spiritually sensitive because of that. And yet there's a certain quality that we have that no generation before us has ever had. And that is, we still do mitzvahs. We still show up. We show up to the relationship with Hashem. We show up to our lives with joy. Each and every one of us experienced loss over this past year on Purim. And yet here we are finding joy, finding meaning, finding purpose. We're here. We are a miracle. And that comes from a deep place inside of us. That's the essence of our neshama. Because there's parts of our neshama that could be described in words, in pictures, in numbers, in levels, in categories, right? It has descriptions. And then there's a part of our neshama that has no description. It's above all language. Language, by definition, is a measurement. A word is already a judgment. It's an assessment. It's a definitive. You know, I work in a preschool, right? Why do we give children blocks that have no colors? Because we don't want to limit their imagination to specific colors, right? A color, by definition, is a limitation to a child's imagination. Words, by definition, by the fact that it's word, it's a limitation to what is indescribable. So the essence of a Jewish soul is indescribable. And the essence of Hashem's love for the Jewish people is also indescribable. It transcends anything we could ever do and anything we do wrong. It's just there because it is. And there's no words to describe it. And on Purim, we get that extra strength to activate that connection with Hashem in our own hearts. And that's why Purim is a time of joy, because in that space, you know, if you're very, very upset about something, but then something really wonderful happens, and that worry gets pushed aside in that moment of utter joy, right? When we dance, symbolically, what we're doing is we're transcending our minds. A person dances, they jump. We're going above our intellect. We're not negating our intellect. Our intellect is still there, but we're saying there's something more than our intellect. That's why joy is represented so much by singing and dancing, and even the drinking. You don't have to drink a bottle of alcohol to activate that space of adulayada, of get to that place in your heart where, even in that place in your heart where you don't know, where you don't see, for Hashem, it's like, even in that space where adulayada, the miyadea, beyond what you could know. Mordechai was telling Esther, beyond what you could know, this is a purpose. It has no meaning. I can't even tell you why you have to do it. It doesn't come in words. It doesn't come in words. It's your purpose. It's just something you need to do. And that's why you're there. That's the only reason why you're there. And that miyadea gave her the strength, because sometimes, because there is a me, there's a Hashem, there's a what that's beyond what we could know, beyond what we could destroy. And the Adelayada that we want to touch on Purim is that very space. We want to tell Hashem, and we want to tell ourselves, really, that we are here and we're showing up to our lives, and it's possible because we have something that doesn't come in words. We have something that's deeper and bigger. We have a strength inside of us. Hashem loves us in a way that transcends all of that. All that could be, measured and counted and weighed and categorized and labeled in boxes. Hashem's love transcends all of that. All of that. It's bigger than all of that. And we can touch that on Purim. That's the Adelayada that we could touch. And how do we touch it? Through prayer. Through prayer, on davening on Purim is a very important time of the day. It says, Kol Poshet Yad Noisnelai. There's a minhag, a halacha, that on Purim you give tzedakah to whoever stretches out their hand. You got to give. Hashem fulfills that too. Whoever stretches out their hand on Purim, Hashem gives. So we got to use that time to really daven and not let the day, there's so much to do, especially this year, it's on a Friday. There's so much to do, but let's remember to ask. Turn to Hashem from that deep place inside of us. That deep place inside of us where we really depend on Hashem. Where there is nothing else. It's beyond, it's deeper, it's our real essence, where we can't figure it out because it's deeper than our intellect. We really need you, Hashem, and we have no other way to do this. We daven to Hashem from that deep place inside of us, and may we see revealed miracles. On Hashem's part, the energy that's released into this world is that love. Is Hashem's choosing us, no matter what mistakes we made, no matter what we did or didn't do. Hashem loves us for who we are, just because, for no reason. Hashem loves us because, and let's take that in. It's an energy that we need. We need this in our lives. We need it so badly. Hashem is giving it to us. So Purim, by learning all of this that we learned, I hope that I know that for me, it put me into a place where I'm definitely going to be thinking about this at least a little bit on Purim, and it's going to enable me to take it in, and to touch that. Because when you have that awareness of what's going on, what the spiritual energy is, now it's just about, okay, so what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do? What's that going to look like in my Purim day? I want to open that to a discussion. If anybody wants to share, how do you think, maybe, for me, I think I need to think about this a little bit more, but, and awareness is a lot, but I'm curious if anybody has thoughts of like, what does this look like for you in practical terms? How are you going to experience this or take it in on Purim? What difference is it going to make to your Purim? I want to share that for the recording, okay? Thank you so much for sharing that. So someone is sharing that I'm going to smile to every person I meet because Hashem loves us all. I'm gonna, and I have that ability to love everyone else. That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. And when I have things to do and I have to clean, I'm gonna, instead of being upset that I have to clean, I'm gonna think, thank you, Hashem, for giving me what to clean. and the energy to get it done. So thank you so much for sharing that. I'm gonna think about that on Purim too. Thank you. I should have written it down as you were saying it because you said it so beautifully. But so many, I'm going to repeat it in my own words, that what Fruma shared so beautifully, that so many women, we get overwhelmed on Purim. We judge ourselves by the well doneness of our hamantash, by the kids' costumes. We get overwhelmed by how much there is to get done. And if we could just think about this, all of this that we were talking about, and be present with that love and our inherent value and worthiness, that will give us a joyous Purim more than the hamantashen, or regardless of how good the hamantashen came out. Yeah. Thank you, because music really is the language of the soul. So, and it's the external. So I just want to repeat that. Someone's saying that turning on music really does help for simcha. And I agree. And the reason, according to what we're talking about, right, our soul, the essence of our soul is happy. Music is the language of our soul, and our soul is happy. By turning on the music, it helps us bypass all the other stuff that gets in the way of our soul's true joy, which is on our true state of being. We could let go for that time of our anxiety, of our fears, of our worries, of our pain, and we could be present with the joy. Thank you, Javi. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, you know what? The dishes are going to be there anyway, so you may as well have a healthy perspective on it, because even if you hate the dishes, they'll still be there. I want to summarize quickly in a nutshell, because I feel like we started with a question. I want to go back to that question just to clarify one more time. Why is this name Purim called for Haman's plan to destroy us? And the answer is because that is the story of the miracle of Purim, and that is exactly what we're celebrating. Haman thought that at the level of Goiro, at the level of depth within Hashem's awesomeness, if we could use that description, Haman thought that at a very deep level he could sever, if you go deep enough, he could sever the relationship between Hashem and the Jewish people. On a tree, if you dig past the roots, you can dig it out and take away the tree. Haman thought he can dig deep enough on the level of the Goiro and disconnect us from Hashem. And Hashem said, at that level of the Goiro, beyond the roots, beyond any investment of effort and energy, beyond mitzvahs, beyond all that we do or don't do, beyond any words, beyond any description, at that level of Goiro, I love you, I want you, I'm here for you, I'm protecting you, and let's celebrate that. And the Yidden said the same thing, because we were in a state of gullus. There was no revealed godliness, there were no miracles, there was no nevuah, there was no Beis Hamikdash, and the promise of Geula seemed to have been lost. It seemed to have been forgotten, and each and every one of us could relate to that sense of, 1 minute, what's going on? Maybe we're really stuck in Galus, chas v'shalom. We also could relate to the promise of Geula just being so, so it's supposed to be, and yet it didn't. And we're so pained about that and disappointed about that. And what's it going to do to us? Is it going to chas v'shalom make us just say, forget it, I give up, I'm done? Chas v'shalom. Not one Jew converted during that time. Not one of us has given up. We are here because we are committed to Hashem. Each of us has that ability to show up to our lives despite the lack of miracles. That's the schus. That's, just like in the times of Achashverosh and Haman, it was in the merit of the Jewish people's teshuvah. It was in the merit of their commitment, their mesiras nefesh for Hashem brought about the Geula. Esther's going to Achashverosh in a genius, creative plan that she herself devised. That was the technical story. The miracle of the story, the energy of the story, the truth that made her efforts successful is our mesiras nefesh. And today, each of us has that mesiras nefesh. I know we have it because we're here, because we're celebrating Purim. We're finding joy. We're finding a way forward. We're finding a way to celebrate with Hashem. And let's up that. Let's celebrate that. First of all, let's up that. And second of all, let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate that. Let's be joyous. Let's relax into Hashem's embrace. Relax into the truth of who we are. Stop judging ourselves for all that we're not, and by our fears and by our anxieties, and celebrate the essence of who we are, which is beautiful, indescribably beautiful, and precious, and whole, and joyous. And that's the simcha of Purim, ad delay yada. I want to wish everybody a happy, happy, happy Purim, and it should be a happiness that should last. Hashem should take us from these days of Purim. It doesn't have to wait till the actual, till Thursday night, till tomorrow night. It could start now. Take us from these days of Purim straight to the Beis HaMikdash, where our joy will be complete.